What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another web development video. Today I'm going to be talking about what's wrong with coding boot camps. I want to go through all the reasons that coding boot camps have issues. This is not going to apply to every single coding boot camp out there. It's only going to apply to some of them, and every experience in every boot camp is going to be different. So what some people might experience in one boot camp might be different from that experience in a different boot camp, as well as vary from cohort to cohort. So what some people experienced in spring of last year might be different from what people experienced in summer of last year, just because things change and stuff like that. But what I wanted to do is cover some of the main reasons that boot camps have issues and kind of go through them one by one. So before I start, you should know myself, I did go through a coding boot camp. I went through an online coding boot camp in the fall and winter of 2018, 18/19. And from there, I did get a development job. So not to say that it was easy or necessarily always fun, but I did want to give you some background that yes, I did complete a coding boot camp. I didn't see every single one of these issues here, but I will relate some of my own experiences and some of those issues that I'm going to discuss here. But I do want to say that yes, I did complete a coding boot camp, and yes, I did get a dev job afterwards. So that being said, let's jump into it. Okay, so first of all, coding boot camps, they use former students as instructors. They know their way around the curriculum, but they might not have that deep knowledge that you want. That really kind of sums it up in a nutshell. They might just not have that tech experience that you want to be taught from. Somebody that has deep knowledge around the language, they might not be able to fully understand those things. And they also might not have the heart of a teacher. If you've ever had a bad teacher before in your life, there's a good chance that you'll run into one in a coding boot camp. And that might be because they're just there going through the motions. Maybe they don't know the curriculum very well. Maybe they don't have a heart of a teacher. They don't know how to ask the right questions and to get the best out of you. And if you've ever had a great teacher in your life, you'll know exactly what I mean when I say heart of a teacher. That's somebody that's caring, that can really reach you and teach you something, that even if it's difficult. So somebody that is a former student and doesn't have a lot of experience in the tech industry might not be the right person to teach you stuff. And that goes without saying. They might not have any industry experience. They might not have any teaching experience either. This might be their first time they've taught anything to anybody, or the second time, or they still might be in their first year of it or second year of it. So that's also a lot on them. So just keep that in mind. All right, moving on. Coding boot camps aren't going to teach you deeply on computer science, stuff like software architecture, software design, big O notation, 101, 201, 301 concepts that are taught at a university. Coding boot camps generally teach you how to write some code to bang out an application and solve some algorithms, but they're not going to jump in and teach you a lot on some of those 101, 201, 301 university level courses that most CS graduates are going to be familiar with. So they're just not going to go deeply on those items. Also, coding boot camps, they're not regulated. They can tell you whatever they want about their graduation rate and how much those people get paid. They can say that they have an 80 or 90% graduation rate, and a common thing that you'll probably see if you've ever looked at coding boot camps before, 80% graduation rate with 90% cohort job placement rate of $80,000 a year in less than 3 months or 4 months or 6 months or whatever it is. And they can say that because it's not a regulated industry, and that may be true for a boot camp. It may not be. Some of them just kind of fudge those numbers so they look a little bit better, and that definitely happens out there. You can look up boot camp horror stories and you can see stuff like that. People that really struggled through them, did not get placed into a job, were not able to find a job, or ones that they were able to find after an exhaustive search was way low, was not 80,000, was 50,000 or 60,000 or whatever it was. So they're not regulated. They can say whatever they want. Okay. Boot camps, they also, they might not focus on GitHub and what it's actually like to build an application as a team. They might not review your code in pull requests or PR requests. So if you're not familiar with what I'm saying, generally as a software developer, you're going to work alongside some other people. You're going to take your code, push it up to the cloud. Other people are going to look at it, and then they're going to combine that code. That is essentially GitHub in that workflow in a nutshell. And coding bootcamps might not really teach you much other than this is how you start a repo, clone this project, and that's it, you're done. That doesn't really help you when it comes to going into the real world and trying to pull down somebody else's branch, look through it, merge it into yours, and then actually deal with somebody's feedback in a pull request. Hey, I want to take my code and merge it in to the feature branch or master branch so that I can have my code complete. And that person in a pull request is going to look through your code and say, this is wrong, think about changing this, is there a better way to do this, I don't understand what you're doing here. And then you're going to have to go back and redo some of that work and make some updates. Well, coding bootcamps might not go through any of that with you whatsoever. So that might be kind of a shock to you once you get in the real world. Like, oh, what I was doing all this time was wrong. I can't just leave comments all over the place. I have bad habits when it comes to naming variables and spacing and stuff like that. So that's something else to keep in mind. Coding bootcamps also, a lot of them will tell you that they'll help you get a job. Some of them tell you that they won't help you get a job, but in general, they're not going to have a job lined up for you at the end of it. There's no 50 recruiters knocking at their door saying, we want to hire all of your cohorts right away. And hi, I'm with Apple. Can we hire all of your graduates? Hi, I'm with Google. Can we hire all of your graduates right away when we start them all at 6 figures? That's not happening. That's not going to happen. Sometimes a lot of them, they'll help you in certain areas. That's really going to depend on the boot camp, and it's also going to depend on the person that's trying to help you get a job. If they really care about helping you get a job, they will certainly try a lot harder than somebody that's just kind of there going through the motions, stuck inside of whatever that ecosystem is that they have for getting people jobs. And also remember, they might not have jobs that you want. They might say, yeah, you can go work for XYZ company as an intern for part-time or for a really low wage for 45K or whatever it is. That might not be what you want. That might not be acceptable. Remember, coding boot camps, 10K, 20K, upper 20Ks. If you're going through one of these, you're probably a little bit older. You're not 18, 19, maybe you are, but if you're maybe in your 20s, maybe you're up there in your 30s, that's not going to cut it. You don't really want to take that intern level job after spending 6 months in a coding bootcamp or 3 months in a coding bootcamp or whatever it is. You have bills to pay. You got to pay back some of that money you might have taken out a loan for. So they're not always going to help you get that job. Okay, next on the list, you got to remember their content might be outdated. So if you've ever gone through a learning platform, say on Udemy or something like that, you've noticed this. The course is from last year or the year before that, and you're trying to make something and it breaks and it drives you nuts. Everybody's gone through that. And so now you got to go through, okay, he was talking about this. My code is correct. I've gone through and reviewed all the files. Maybe I've been able to pull their code down and I can't get it to work. Well, that's because you got to go back to the errors and try to figure out, oh, this is different now. It's the wrong version, whatever it is. It's the exact same thing in coding boot camps. Whatever curriculum that you might be going through, it might just be outdated, and that's not going to be helpful and really frustrating for you. Sometimes coding boot camps are fully aware of this, and they'll just have a note, hey, this is broken right now, it doesn't work. So you're going to have to jump through these hoops or find me at office hours or whatever it is. So don't forget, content gets outdated everywhere. Coding boot camps, no different. Also, the lectures on coding boot camps, they're insanely quick. If you've never seen something like Express before, how much do you think you can learn about it in 1 or 2 hours in a couple lectures? Are you going to be an expert on it? Are you going to be able to complete all 5 or 6 assignments? Probably not. You're going to need help. You're going to have to go review stuff. You're going to have to try to figure out a bunch of stuff on your own. And because everything in a boot camp is paced so fast, you just might get left behind on a concept that happens all the time. It's really hard to get a hold of TAs a lot of times, or instructors. It's another problem. Sometimes there's too few instructors for them. And if you need that help, you might not get it because their office hours don't align with your schedule, or they're just not available, or the time that you spend with them doesn't help you get over the hump. Well, guess what? You've got to move on to the next lecture. They're not covering Express anymore. Now they're moving on to some other concept. And that might have just been a couple of days on that, and now you're on to something else, and you have this huge knowledge gap that you need in order to complete the course, but you still don't understand this bit back here. It's too bad because everybody's moved on. Happens all the time. It's really hard to ask questions and say, I don't really understand this, especially if you're not confident in it or if the instructor isn't very good about it and he might just kind of pass you over and say, oh, well, just come see me later or something like that. If it never lines up for you, that's really hard. And it's just something to be aware of. But that happens all the time. The too few instructors, too few TAs, or instructors that don't care as much, or instructors that are former students that just don't have that experience for being a teacher. So the workload for some of these, it's insane. How much do you think that you're really learning in a few months? How good do you think you really are in just a few months, even if it's 80-hour work weeks, which is an insane amount of time to spend in a week trying to learn something? That's burnout level. You're not going to be happy all the time. Your stress levels are insane. And you really have to think about how many good people wash out from that workload. How many people that could have made great software developers wash out just because they can't handle 70 or 80 hours worth of work at that moment. That's a lot. I don't blame anybody for saying, you know what, this isn't for me. I can't do this right now. I don't blame that. Even if it's a lower pace at 45 or 50, if you have other things going on in your life and you just can't hack it right now because you have a full-time job or part-time job on the side or whatever it is, I don't blame those people at all. That's really difficult to do. And how much do you really think that those people can actually learn in those few months that they spend inside of a coding boot camp? How much can you actually learn? I mean, you can total up the hours for that. It's far, far away from an entire year's worth of coursework. 2,000 hours that you would spend in an actual job doing something. You can total up the hours of how much time you might think that you're spending in a coding boot camp and how much knowledge you actually gain out of that in that amount of time. It's not going to compare with somebody that's been doing even 1 year's worth of job in the real world, 1 year's worth of work in the real world, or somebody that's spent the last 4 years at university, or even 2 years at university, or even spent 1 year at university. It just doesn't compare. So you're just not going to know as much. So in a nutshell, there are a lot of good reasons to go to a coding boot camp. Just to touch on a few of them, if you want to get familiar with the language, if you need to get started, if you really want to learn some coding, programming, and try to get a job, you definitely can go through it. You will learn a lot. You will be able to build some applications after it. You're going to have some holes in your knowledge. That's okay. You have to be able to accept that. But remember, when you get out of one of these, you're probably not going to get your dream job at your dream company in your dream city. You're going to have to fight for it most likely. I know that there are a lot of YouTube channels. There's some guys out there that have huge channels that talk about they had great experiences in coding boot camps. Not saying that mine was terrible, but I want to cover some of the real world issues with coding boot camps. So if you are interested with them, look at some reviews, take them with a grain of salt. You'll see a lot of 5 stars in there. Also remember that sometimes it's the actual instructors writing things about some of those coding boot camps. There are scam coding boot camps out there. Take everything with a grain of salt. If you're not sure, just take a breath, go to YouTube and Udemy and spend a month going through courses. And if you still like that type of work and think that you can really immerse yourself, then I would recommend spend a little bit more time going through that stuff to get prepared for a coding boot camp, and then go into one. Make sure you've done a lot of prep work before you go into one. And then also realize that if you do decide you want to go through a coding boot camp, it's not the end of the journey. You're still going to be a very, very junior developer. After all of that, you're just not going to have the experience at the end of the day. So it's kind of a starting point. It's a starting point of, now I know how to code, I can build some applications. I have met some cool people, I can do some cool things, I can work under pressure. Those are all great things, but also know that you're not now going to be at this level here, I am fully qualified to be a mid-level or senior level developer, and I get to command a lot of things, and the job search is going to be easy. Please don't expect that. It's a starting point. You're going to have to work for it and learn and realize that there are some things that you don't know or don't know well enough. And you might have to even switch languages to get a position. All that's okay. Just wanted to say, think about that when you're going through a coding boot camp. Otherwise, not to say that they're all bad. like I was trying to cover and some of the reasons to go through one, if you really do want to get a dev job, university's not an option. Coding boot camps aren't a bad way to go. You can get a job out of them. Just be realistic that it's not, that it's going to be hard, and you might have to deal with some tough instructors or bad instructors, and you might have a hard time getting a job afterward, but not to say it's not possible. Anyways, if you like this type of content, please subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.